Welcome to Shop Talk, presented by Showchic, where they always put the rider in first place.
Hi, I'm Laura King. For those that don't know me, I'm just going to give you a little heads up to what I do. Then we're going to go into something I'm doing different tonight because I have a couple things that I kind of put together. So I felt like not just giving a speech on hypnosis and about NLP, getting you to see how to use the tools. And so with that in mind, yes, I'm a hypnotherapist. I help people with their riding, their anything actually, get rid of PTSD, get rid of depression. I happen to be a hypnotherapist because hypnosis saved my life 45 years ago. Some of y'all have heard me say this before, and it's because I was depressed and I was very suicidal, and my third attempt, the drugs and Palm Beach Institute, did not work. And my mother, I thought of this the other day, in the 70s found a hypnotist. I mean, that's kind of, if we didn't have Google, you couldn't go find me a hypnotist, you know. Yeah. It was amazing, and it was through a housekeeper. We lived in West Palm. The lady lived in Arizona. Now, think about that back then. So my mother called her. She said, I really can't help you right now. My husband's being transferred, and we have to move. So my mother says, okay. My mother was very nosy. She didn't take no for an answer. God, I wonder where I got that. Anyway, so she decided to say, well, where are you moving? She said, well, I'm moving to Fort Lauderdale. Well, she moved 5 miles from where I was living. It's a God thing, so thank you. Yeah. And through hypnosis, the lady saved my life. So I practiced it all these years, and 21 years ago, she passed away, and I got all of her material. So I went off to school and got all my education, and I showed up in Wellington, Palm Beach County as a hypnotist, and everybody said, don't look at me. And I went, what am I going to do looking at you? I mean, it was just like I believed in it so much, didn't they? And I remember my office was at my nephew's office, Raymond James, here on South Shore Boulevard, and my brother called me up, and he said, he's my older brother, he's 10 years older, he says, Laura, I don't think a hypnotist should be in a financial planner's office. And I'm like, what? You're kidding me. I said, well, I think that's Ben's decision. And I was there 10 years. He finally had to come to me and says, Aunt Laura, I really need that room. Could you go somewhere else? So anyway, I ended up on Lake Worth Road out near the Turnpike, and I've been there, I guess, another 10 years. Now I'm only virtual. Since I was half virtual before COVID, COVID pushed me into being 100%. So that was great for me because I like to spend my summers in North Carolina, and I sold my house and moved to Port St. Lucie.
Oh, nice, very nice.
Yeah, until you drive an hour and a half to get here and you realize, oh, there's traffic?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my story, and when she asked me to come speak here, we've kind of moved it a couple times because of the famous word. Are we going to go to our grave going COVID, you know? So I was happy when she said it was this time and to come, and we kept it going. So I kind of put my thinking cap on and thought, well, I'm going to do something different. And I've been working on a couple things, so we're going to get some of that explained to you tonight. I can't sit down, that's right, I got things on my derriere. What is your personal best? Think about this for a moment. If we are always doing what we are working toward doing, I started I think 10 years ago really working on personal best with my equestrians, with any sport, with life. Technically, when I researched it, we as humans do our best no matter what. We don't set out to not do good. We don't set out to do it bad. We don't set out to make mistakes. We really, so if you think about in showing, you go in there and you trust the unconscious mind. So right now we're talking on 12% of the brain. That's your analytical, rational, reasoning, thinking mind. In your 12% is your short-term memory. 2 plus 2 is 4, your quick thinking. In your 12% is your willpower. So, if you want to make a change, you really got to learn how to go to the 88%, your hard drive. So in the hard drive, it's literal. It has 0 analytical, rational reasoning ability. In there's your long-term memory, your habit patterns, and your emotions. So when we think about doing a sport or anything in life, your subconscious mind creates an unconscious competence and an unconscious confidence. Now, where can I give you an example of that? Parking a car. How many people drove here tonight and got out and measured their space to make sure they fit? I'm sure every one of you. No, you trusted your unconscious competence and your unconscious confidence. Pull in and park. So funny, if I use that a lot in a day, I go to park and I'm really crooked. Anyway, because I'm thinking about it too much. Isn't that what you do when you ride? Same thing. So if we think about how we can change that unconscious, well, if you think about it as a computer, number one, and you tell yourself stuff all the time, what they have scientifically proven is that you hear your own voice all the time. So when you worry, you are actually hypnotizing yourself. You're making that mountain out of a molehill. So what we've learned is that the subconscious mind likes another voice. So technically, I help you do what you do, except for I know how to make the molehills out of mountains. Because you need a facilitator. That's what it is. Hypnosis is mindfulness. It's the same thing as guided imaging. It's the same thing. It's anytime you close your eyes, you're going into an altered state of consciousness. When you relax, you daydream. So I spend a lot of time helping people understand the concept of what I do. Once you say, oh, because there is not a hypnotist on the face of the earth that can hypnotize somebody for something they don't want, that happens to be called acting. And I'm not acting. So what we do is we create a way, the mindset is how you learn what you have to do. So what is personal best then? You get a skill, you build that, you practice it, and in that unconscious mind, it strengthens it and it becomes a confidence of knowing how to do it. Like, I haven't ridden in a long time, but I know I can get on a horse and walk, trot, and canter. I mean, I know that. But if you told me, well, Laura, come out to the show today and go in the Grand Prix, I go, really do that? Because I do know enough that that's something else that I haven't done. So I'd have to learn. So there's a learning curve. So myself as a personal best thought processor is that I'd have to make some changes and do the due diligence and take the lessons and have, of course, we all know the next sentence, have a horse. Then we could go to that direction. So what we want to think about now, when you sit in that saddle, I have to promise you this, you don't intentionally make mistakes on purpose. I'd like to teach all of my clients, and I want to teach you tonight. Start thinking of when you're learning and you're doing and you have a problem, start calling it a hiccup. You know why? Problems don't seem to go away, but hiccups do. Think about it. If you have a hiccup, you're going to go to the next level and be able to change it. Create a different way of seeing it. So what we do is we figure out what you need to do for that personal best. So I thought, I'm going to do an exercise with y'all tonight, and I have some of these MP3s to give away, and I give you on the chart in there is a website to go to and a free personal enough MP3. So you can download that and listen to that when you go to bed at night or listen to a power nap, because a 20-minute session is like 3.5 hours sleep, so it's really good for energy. And I wanted to give y'all that as a gift. Okay, that was for everybody. And on your seat, you also have the letter opener, which we were talking about earlier. I found those when I moved to Port St. Lucie, and everybody likes them to use them for removing braids. You really don't have to use them for letters. So what we're going to do tonight, we're just going to walk through this, and you can do this at home too, but I want to teach you what this is. Because I'm giving you the MP3 to hypnotize you to do it, all right? There's a method to my madness. All right, so figuring it out. Actually, the name of my new book that's going to the publisher soon. What strikes you at being your personal best? What do you think of your personal best? Like in writing. What is the, is there a thought or feeling or an image that you ruminate over? What do you have in your mind? A lot of times we don't have what we want to do even programmed into our brain because we kind of have too many gremlins in there saying something else. What's a gremlin? Stuff. Or it can be a past experience where somebody has convinced you can't do it. Or it could be something as a child that, everything was a struggle. Just saying. Because we are what we have been raised to be. I had an eye-opening one. I will share in a minute. Notice what happens in your mind and body when you see anything that is different. When you think about what you want and you describe it, you use this opportunity and you can describe what it looks like. What is your personal best? Is it going in and getting 100 when you do a test? There are a lot of people that are getting hundreds now. Not. So let's think about that. We don't want to put a limit on what we can do and how we want to improve. This isn't about nixing growth. This is about leaving the door open to improve, the door open to do what you choose to do when you do it, to be at that level of where you are at the moment. So when we go through this and when you get home and you write this all out, how does it feel to think about being and doing what you want? Has anybody ever told you can do anything and everything you put your mind to? I mean, that's that law of attraction, that's that secret stuff. Well, it's true, it's real. It's really real. But the problem is, you can have no negatives. One negative takes 4 positives to override, and you need the 5th one to have any progression in the right direction. So traffic can't even bother you. I mean, I'm even dead still on the interstate right now, to date, and I'm saying I'll be on time. Who can I call? I don't know. If I call that person, it'll be a therapy session. If I call that person, it'll be a therapy session. So I just drove or sat there for a while. Welcome, everybody.
Sorry.
I'm glad you're here. So what we want to think about in how we produce our thoughts is what we're going to do with it. So if you don't know what you want, are you going to get it? Most likely not. Or you'll get halfway there. Or you'll get 3/4 of the way there. So when you do this, you're going to figure out this part. Now the reason I have this pie up here, and I put down here fun or career, because either if it's your hobby or it's your career. Doesn't matter. But this pie is a representation of every quadrant of your life. In my whole program and the new book that's coming out, it's going to be about the whole pie, to fix everything. Because what we do, we go through and we mark a percentage of where we are, and if the wheel isn't round, if there's a lot of places in here where you've created and the wheel doesn't roll smoothly, then peak performance in life is not going to happen, and it does affect the writing. You have to be clear across the board for everything. You have to be clear to be able to do that. So personal best is a way the brain can find that way you can do it. So personal best becomes what? Doing the right thing at the right time, going in the ring, jumping clear, writing a clean test, whatever it is, okay? Even for a golfer, ball in the hole. Whatever the sport is, whatever the process is. So I want y'all to take this home and take some time and be able to write out what you want, because next I want you to write out, what are your past actions? Actions that have taken, what have you taken to improve? What have you done? Well, we know we all love lessons. My new sport, not new, I guess it's a couple years old now, is sporting clays. So when I'm in North Carolina, I have no one to go shoot with. So I take lessons every week. I go to the Biltmore. It's a great little club there. It's really inexpensive. I can't believe, shouldn't share this too much. They might change the price. And I go there once a week just to get out of the house because I sit in the chair and work all the time. And so my girlfriend, she started shooting down here, and I said, coming down for the winter, and I said, you know, when I go shooting, she said, well, I don't know, all you do is take lessons. I go, oh, okay. Okay. So anyway, I still take lessons, but we do go shoot. So what are your past actions? If you're taking lessons, if you're getting the right saddle, if you're doing mindfulness, if you're going to me, if you're whatever you're doing, what are you doing to improve? Because what we want to do is commit to this action. The measurable actions, committing for your future. It is describing how to do that. What do you want to do with it? How can you define it? There are two things happening here when you make yourself do this. You're operating a different part of the brain. You're causing the brain to have another reaction and processing. And then the third thing, you read it. So you're going to see it, think it, and do it. Because you're doing it, you're taking lessons or writing and improving. How, whys, wheres, whether any of these things, anything else can be involved. So then you go in the mindset, and then we go for the benefits, positive results, new opportunities, new ways of thinking, other things to celebrate. What positive feedback has your coach given you lately? I asked somebody that the other day. He says, my coach didn't tell me anything positive. It's only what I do wrong. I went, wow, you're going to improve, but go ahead. Let me hypnotize that out of you. Yeah, think about that. If they're always telling you what you did wrong, what are you going to keep doing? What you did wrong. Because the brain only ruminates on the last thing thought. Even music does that to you. My husband knows this. And yesterday morning, oh my gosh, we had the door open. You could hear a motorcycle down interstate, whatever, far away. You know how the rocket things make all that noise? He starts singing that GTO song. Anybody remember that? He doesn't stop there. He looks up the words and he starts singing. He doesn't have much of a voice. And then he finds a song and says, all right, Ed, please stop. I don't want to be singing GTO all day while I'm hypnotizing people. I got to block this. I got to change this. He says, okay, Alexa, play Kenny G, please. I'm fine. The point I'm making is be careful what you hear. Find out what you're hearing. Find out what your challenges and your obstacles are. This isn't to be rude or socially acceptable to your trainer or your family members or anybody that's negative. Just choose not to be around them. I guess you can't do that with a trainer. Let me think about that a moment. Ask, talk, communicate. Ask for a solution for the problem if there is one. The word solution will be a gift I give you tonight. Because the brain, when you ask the brain for a solution, all it can do is produce one. Now I'm going to give you a little secret here. Look everywhere. Most people's taglines, companies now, the advertising company learned this years ago and changed all their names to such and such solution, such and such this. I remember when I learned this 10 years ago in India about solutions. I come home and I'm on the turnpike and I'm driving to the office in Lake Worth, and I'm passing this van. I look to my right, and they were the solution to rats. Now, that you might not appreciate very much until I tell you the next story. Sold my house and gardens, bought a house in Port St. Lucie, had just been renovated. Move in. Guess what kind of dogs I have? A Jack Russell and a Manchester Terrier. Guess what they are? They love rats. And they start staring at the walls and staring at the ceiling, and we hear ding, 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 ding. I have a house full of rats. So, okay, All right, we've got to call all these people. I became the rat expert. I have Ring cameras everywhere, so I set one up there. My son calls me one day, he says, Mom, what's the rat cam? I said, it's a camera so I can see where they're coming and going in my attic. He says, Mom, you are so weird. Thank you, son. I love you. But, so I looked it up. Guess what rats in your house mean? Prosperity and abundance. I said, okay, you can't stay but leave. Thank you. There's some sort of special meaning to that. I said, okay, but we got rid of them. So one night I dreamt that someone came to my house with a vacuum cleaner and vacuumed out my attic. Told my contractor guy, I said, Laura, you come up with weird things. I said, well, call. Can we get all the insulation sucked out of here and new insulation put in? Guess what showed up at my house 2 days later? A big vacuum cleaner that pulled it out, put it in the van, and sucked it all out and took it away. Whatever was left in there, then put all new in. They do a whole thing with it. So what does that solution-based thinking mean to you? I need you to think about that with your writing. I need you to really put your mindset into what it can do for you, with you, and about you. And also, too, you have the opportunity to do whatever you want by learning how to control what? Your thoughts. Your thoughts. Now, I was explaining this to somebody when I was driving here tonight. And I said to her, I said, you know, a lot of people say, well, you can't control your thoughts. That is a true statement. But you got to think of the hard drive where you're pulling the thoughts from. If your hard drive has viruses in it and stinking thinking and negative stuff and all that, that's what you're going to think. That's what you're going to draw from. That's going to be your thought. So what I teach you is how we can change that. Change that unconscious mind processing. It's not about me. I'm just a facilitator. I just learned a skill, and I love using it. I actually have like a passion for it. Because I like when people call me and say, I feel so much better today. I had one lady that was so depressed, and she's been depressed most of her life. Our session last week, she said, the first week I didn't have any depressed thoughts. Oh my gosh, Laura. I go, it isn't magic, but it's next thing to it. A little bit. So it's really being aware that it's doable. So when you do this, the reason I'm making you do this and teaching you all this is because we want to go to the benefits, the positive results that you want to get, the opportunities, the ways of thinking. And, you know, what positive feedback have you gotten from your coach? What have they given you? And focus on what they want you to do, not what they don't want you to do. And it's gosh, I'm going to use this word. It's challenging sometimes. Because if somebody of authority is giving you information and you turn to them and go, make it positive, but I'm teaching you, you can. My coach in North Carolina for shooting, he was the most negative coach I think I've ever met in my life. And finally one day I just put my gun down. I said, I can't do this. You're telling me what not to do, and I'm doing exactly what you're telling me not to do. Watch. And I said, pay attention. I brought him a book to read the next day. I said, come on, dude. So, and he'd have to pay attention to his words more with me, and every time he didn't, I had to put my gun down. Because I wanted to learn. I didn't want to just keep repeating what I was doing wrong. I can go do that by myself. You know? I wouldn't need him there. So getting the results and the opportunity, know the new ways to think about it. How does it feel? Remember years ago, oh my gosh, 20 years ago, working for a particular client, and he had a German coach come in, and the lesson was in German, and they had a translator for me. So the translator was translating. All of a sudden, this guy, Bertes, I think his name was, turned around and he looked at me. You Americans just don't get it. The brain doesn't hear don't or not. I go, I know, I write about it. But if you can just get that one concept and keep it in mind and erase don'ts and nots. How do you do that? Make a list of your don'ts and nots. Go to the right-hand side and write out how to think of it without the don't or not. Tear the paper in half, throw the left-hand side away, and let that be your list of things to memorize. The MP3s will help you learn it too. The personal best one that I'm giving you it will help start programming the brain for that. So the challenge and the obstacles, to encounter a challenge and an obstacle, you have to know what the opposite of it is. You have to know, like the lateral shots for me, it's like shooting. Nobody told me to go ahead of it. I was still looking at the target. Nobody told me I had progressives on, and the reason I saw 6 little clays was because I was looking in the wrong part of my glasses. I had to go figure this all out myself. So what you are learning and what you're doing in riding and dressage or hunter jumpers, whatever you're doing, you've got to get that mindset to what it is you want to accomplish. And then you put that together. And as we go through the process, you have ability to make these changes. Shoot, you can just go to my website and see I give away a lot too. If you sign up for my email address, I give out an MP3 every month for something about life. I think this month's about Be Your Best. Because what we want to do is help the brain release some things. I have a little issue that I've been going through. So I spent this weekend with the group from India. They happened to come to Palm Beach Gardens. I was saying I really wanted to go, but I didn't feel like going to India. And I pulled up my emails one day, and they're there in Palm Beach County. I'm like, wow, I can go there. And I spent the weekend there. So we do meditation. So I went up to the lady. I said, well, really, you're just hypnotizing us. She says, yeah. Mm-hmm. Your point? I go, I'm not really trying to make a point. I just made a comment, So in my quest to figure out some things for myself, I put on a little bit of weight. I had to go on steroids twice for an eye issue. And I eat so healthy, and I am so good, and the weight's just not coming off. Have you ever heard of belief systems that are in your DNA that are created from your life expansion and from things that happen? Well, that was part of my class. I learned this many years ago because I got rid of that program 20 years ago, I thought. That and a couple other ones that I was told, oh, you're a Boynton, you have the Boynton genes, don't worry about it, you need to be pressed, and you're going to be overweight when you're older, blah, blah, blah. Well, I changed all that 20 years ago and lost 45 pounds. Now I have 20 of them back, and it's like, I don't like it. So I'm in class, and we do a session. And I get this image and a memory of my aunt telling me, when you're old, you're going to be just like us, Laura. Well, I'm 66, and she was probably 66 when she told me that. And I'm going, I got to get rid of that. So I'm working diligently to get reprogrammed because I'm not going to be that program. So if you have any limiting beliefs in your mind from anything anybody's ever told you that you can't do or will not be able to do. One lady I was working with, she was a rider, and when she was a kid, she was doing another sport. And she thought she was getting pretty good at it. The trainer came over and touched her shoulder and says, I got to let you know, honey, you're never going to be that good. That has been in her brain her whole life. I got rid of it. She did really well the next week. And she's still doing really well. But you got to think of what other things are the challenges. It's not just about today. It's about anything that could have been programmed in your brain from whomever, wherever. This was a sports coach, I think it's for gymnastics when she was a kid. So that's going to create what? A limiting belief. Anybody ever heard of a limiting belief? It's a belief that it limits the way you want to do something or live your life. And the other big thing that I have to add here, if you don't like what you want to achieve looks like or what that person is doing, then you're never going to become it. I don't like to use the same sport when I speak, so I'll give a sales one. Girl saw me speak, got my sales MP3 because she had her master's at MIT and she had a great job, but she decided to become a salesperson to make more money. But she couldn't close a sale. So she got the MP3, the CD back then. So I get a phone call from her. She says, I really love him. I'm feeling good. The people all love me, but I can't close a sale. And I said, okay, got to see me. Well, I can't do that. I said, okay. So I sent her self-confidence. A couple weeks later, she calls me. God, I'm feeling so good. My boyfriend says he can see a difference in how good strong I'm being and everything. I said, hey, listen, you got to make an appointment. I'll make a deal with you. Make an appointment, pay me after you have a sale. She goes, you believe in what you do that much? I go, yes. I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't. She comes in, sits down and talking, chit-chatting, and I said, well, what do you think of a salesperson? Oh my God, used car salesman, I never want to be one. Yes. So, guess what? She became number one in her sales. She ended up traveling the United States teaching how to do sales, and then came back and got another job. Now she has her own company, and I saw her at Toastmasters before COVID, and she says, Laura, thank you. If you don't like what a winner looks like, you're never going to be one. Remember that. So it's to stop doing something we're going to talk about next. I'm really working on this stuff right now. I love this. I was thinking a few weeks ago, what is everybody always doing to themselves? Judging themselves. So I decided to look up I'm all about definitions of words. Every book I've written, I put the definition of whatever the chapter is at the beginning of whatever I'm going to talk about. What is judging? Being judged. Judging yourself. What is being judged? You feel like someone is looking with what? Love, like, fantasticness? It's not. It's criticism. And the definition in the dictionary is like you're going to jail. There was not one positive next to the word. So let's think about this. You're going in the ring and you got a line of judges. They're judging you. Boy, that feels warm and cozy and I can't wait to do my best. Not. Think about this. What are the judges really doing? They're evaluating and they're giving a assessment to see where you are with what you have worked diligently to learn. They're not there to hurt you. They're there to, define the judging. It's a form of a conclusion. It's a negative. Give a verdict, give a judgment, but really and truly, they're there to assess you. They're just there to evaluate. You've got a scoring system, each movement to a 10. The total score is 100. So they're just seeing how well you do that movement. Yes, it's their opinion, but it's their opinion that they've learned to be a judge. They get tested, they've earned the right to sit there, not to criticize you, make you feel like garbage, but to help you so you can go and know what you need to improve, know what you want to be better at. Otherwise, why do you bother? I became hypnotist. My first client was a professional golfer, so I flew all over the United States, and I told my husband, we didn't think about phone, Skype, and stuff. Actually, I don't even know if we had Skype and that stuff then. Anyway, and so I went to the first convention, and there was a lady teaching hypnosis for golfers. So I decided to take the class because I'll tell you a secret. I don't really like golf, but I'm really good at hypnotizing for it because I don't have to like it. I just need to know what they tell me they want to do. Pretty much. So I take this class and I'm sitting there. Release performance anxiety, concentration, peak performance. I went, heck with golfers. Equestrians. I've spent my whole life at the ring. I was the circuit in the 70s. Back then, jumpers did a 5-foot fence. It was 2 white poles and a white pole across. It was 5 feet tall. You jumped it. No ground poles, nothing, whatever. That was quarter horses though too, but anyway. But think about this. If you allow yourself to become aware of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and give yourself the opportunity to not feel like you're being criticized. Because when I sat there in class, what flashed in my mind? My daughter rode for years with Jimmy Toronto, and now we would be there, we'd buy all these horses, and then I'd look over and somebody's in the porta potty throwing up before they go in the ring. I go, oh my God, they're so nervous. Well, why do it then? I thought riding was for fun. I thought we enjoyed it. Not really half the time. And then after Jimmy yelled a lot at my daughter, then I went, oh my gosh, this is funner. I got yelled at one time too. I had a bad habit of clucking. And one day I didn't cluck and I got in trouble, but his mother did stand up for me. So, being aware of what you want to accomplish. So I really want to go over the thought process of you understanding that you need a different approach to going into that ring, because you really are going there for what reason? What reason? Why do we show?
Feedback on how we're doing.
Thank you. Feedback on how we're doing, or to be competitive professionally, to get to where, because there's a lot of good things going on out there to be good, to be the best. So think about that process with your mind. If you can think about going into the ring, being your personal best, and stop your criticism and judgment of yourself. Seriously. Because in the way the mind adjusts, the gremlin is who? Or it could be an old trainer, or it could be a parent, or it could be, there are a lot of things out there. I'm reading this book and it says the subconscious mind is always absorbing information. He calls them dragons, whatever you call them. The voice inside of your head is your voice, but it's coming from your brain. This, to me, is one of the most important things I've learned in 66 years of my life, right here. Why? Because if you can realize everything is neutral till it goes into your brain. Everything is neutral. You don't have an opinion about this bottle of water until you see it, and then it goes in your brain, and you have values and beliefs. So maybe you have a belief you don't like plastic. And that bottle, you're not going to like that bottle. Your languages, that's in there too. Oh, that's I have a funny one about language, but memories. Your memory. So maybe somebody hit you when you're riding your horse in a lesson with a water bottle. I have a client that happened to, so that's a true story. So she really has an aversion to water bottles because she's been hit with one so many times when she had a mistake. Really? I don't make this stuff up, I promise. So that bottle of water. So it also has your decisions. Now, time coding wouldn't have anything to do with the bottle except for maybe I want to drink it and I got to wait a few minutes and I'll drink it in a minute. So the time coding is important for all of y'all. Oh, this one's really important. Time coding. In our brains, we get taught time. So, me, grow up, go to college, get married, have kids, go shopping, go to lunches, return the stuff, whatever. Not work. None of the women work in my family. I happen to love to work. I was 12 years old giving riding lessons and swimming lessons in Pahokee, Florida. What qualified me, I have no idea, but I was pretty good. But anyway, so think about the time coding. If you are riding and you don't think you're doing it at the right age, or you didn't start like the person next to you that was lucky enough to have a father that was a trainer. Or, I've only ridden a couple years. Or, am I too old? All of these are time coding that are coming from your brain. Along with that are your meta programs. Meta programs are wearing clothes to leave the house, to take care of yourself, brush your teeth, drive on the right-hand side of the road, stop at a red light. They're your programs. So if you can just get the concept that it's neutral, then it goes into your brain to how you feel about it. I'm not worried about that bottle hitting me. I've never been hit with a bottle of water. So I don't have that thought. I don't have that fear. Then it gives an internal representation a state, a physical result, and then there's your behavior. After all that happens in a nanosecond of time. Have you ever been startled? It's a nanosecond of time. But it had to go in there and get that result. So if there are things that are bothering you, triggers and anchors when you go show, it's because there's a program in there that's causing it. There's a trigger or an anchor in your brain that's causing that response. Okay? So what you do, because we know the natural laws of the mind are, you are what you think, a thought creates a physical reaction, and your imagination's stronger than knowledge. Have you ever worried about something that never happened? I mean, my goodness. So think of that energy. If you can grab that energy and use it for what you want to get your horse's energy to do what you want, how about you grab your own and learn to use your own? The horse has got a saddle, reins, and a bit and all that other stuff. I'm not suggesting you try that on, but I suggest you think about the words. Because right here is so important. So the brain either filters it, it deletes, it distorts, or it generalizes. We generalize a lot of stuff. Like interstates don't bother me. Semis don't bother me. Nothing bothers me because I'm not going to let it upset my day. I'm going to drive in it. I have a safe car. I picked up this one lady one time to go to a wedding. She gets in the car, it was raining. Gosh forbid it was raining. We get on the interstate. She goes, oh my God, Laura, watch the roads. Watch that truck. Watch this. I go, excuse me? She says, we're going to have an accident. I go, thanks a lot. Boy, you're my buddy today. And I got to drive all the way to Fort Lauderdale with you? I go, can we just put a sock in it? I have a safe car. I'm a good driver. And I'm fine and I'm getting there safe. We create problems for ourselves because we have what? Fears. Fears. And those fears, we had, one lady the other day said, well, Laura, you can't take away all of my fear because I can't take away all fear, but I have to say I get rid of most of it. You still have to have a self-preservation, common sense, logical mindset. I can't hypnotize you to bring the bunking bronco over here and get on it if it's your third lesson. Can't do that. Because your logical mind is going to keep a sense of preservation to keep you from doing that. But I can get rid of the unreal ones, the ones that are out there that you don't need anymore. So to me, this is an important facet to think about when you're thinking about what's going on. The last page is this is a theory I learned a while back and then I kind of made it my own. Think of your brain like a tree trunk. There's a ring of every year of your life. So if you think about birth in the middle, and every year, when you have a thought out here, it goes ding, 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 ding in your brain and brings out what? A feeling, an emotion, all kinds of stuff attached to it. So here's how I present what we do with hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming is we're out here and we figure out a way and we release the limiting beliefs and the core operating system, things that aren't working for you. We neutralize them, we release them, we forgive them, we do whatever we need to do, and then we look forward and do timeline therapy. Timeline therapy is seeing what you want, creating it the way you want, and allowing the brain to see the possibilities. And then actually dissecting and figuring out what needs to be reprogrammed. What is the limiting belief? What's keeping you from what you really want to do? You know, I practice everything I teach. Everything. When I became a hypnotherapist, like I said earlier, I thought, oh, the whole world is going to embrace me. Little did I know. The world is embracing me now in all modes of the different things right now. It is, the door's wide open because science is proving it. Bruce Lipton, there's Joe Danza, there's a lot of research out there. Everything right here is part of it. So the science of it is to realize your brain is a computer. You don't like a program, get rid of it. You do need a facilitator, or the MP3s do it. You do need that way of doing it. You can type out your stuff, which my books all have that in the back of it in the I form. That works too. I remember I wanted to meet a husband, and I read this little book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. It's written back in the 60s, I think. And there's a paragraph in there, how to use your brain to attract the ideal husband. So I took that, back then I had a hand typewriter, you know, and I typed out a little script of what it said to relax me. I knew all about hypnosis, and I'd read it every time I go to bed, and read it every morning when I woke up. And about, I don't know, a month later, a couple months later, I'm on I-95, and I meet my husband. We're in and out of traffic together. I took down his license plate and sending flowers. Not ever expecting to meet him. I had some really horrific things happen in my life. And this person made me smile. And it was such a warm feeling that in my businesses, I had roller skating rinks in Fort Lauderdale. I asked one of the police officers who belonged to this car, so the driver of the 83 Olds was this company down in Pembroke Pines. So I sent a planter, because my girlfriend had a florist shop. He just said, thanks for making me smile. I never expected to hear from this person. I wanted that person to know they made somebody's day. And he called the florist, called me, we met for a drink, and that was 39 years ago. Wow. So I'm telling you that little metaphor for one reason. Really and truly, anything is possible. And when I mentioned earlier that I became a hypnotherapist, that was a huge transition for me. And you can do the processing by knowing what it is you want to accomplish. Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? But and I don't even like this word. I don't use it in my vocabulary, but I'm going to say it tonight. The hard part is doing this work if you don't know what you want. And realizing how to get rid of negativity, how to manage that. The next part of it is realizing how much negative you hear. And how much negative you hear. I was getting my nails done, and they play these songs, and I'm going, gosh, can you turn that off? It's so negative. I don't want it in my... I said, I'm going to bring noise-canceling headphones to get my nails done. You know, they play that rap music that has some really, I'm not even going to repeat what I heard. But anyway, it took me a while to block it out. Be aware of what you're hearing when you don't think you're hearing and when you don't realize it. So in a nutshell, your personal best becomes your ability to figure out what you need to do to become it. This is a good way to get you to think. I decided to make it like a homework thing so you have something to go home and do, not just go home and say, well, yeah, she was okay. She's talked about hypnosis. You know, I don't want to do that again. I want you to have the tools to make a difference in your life, because that's the most important part. And then sharing that ability in your own self is giving yourself a gift. How many people woke up this morning, went to the sink and brushed their teeth and looked in the mirror and said, hi, beautiful, you're going to have an awesome day? All of you, I'm sure. So your homework is, tomorrow morning, you're going to do that. Change some of your habitual patterns. Get in the shower and shower backwards. Become more ambidextrous. All these little tools. So in your mind, you've got to look at it as a computer and know it's programmable. That's all I want you to walk out of here with. Remember that. If you don't like something and you feel uncomfortable about something, go, oh, that's right, I can change it, I can fix it. Because you can. I guarantee it. That's right. So, in a mindset right now, does anybody have any questions? Everybody's looking at me. Think about it a minute. Any questions about what you're doing and what you'd like to change? Or is it possible if we can put a man on the moon, but is there anything else about what you're thinking about? Nothing. Okay, wake up, everybody. Did I put you to sleep with the sound of my voice? My husband can't drive, and I can't read a book or anything or talk to him when he's driving because I hypnotize him. And he does the laundry, does the cleaning. I'm just kidding. Yes, Johnny.
So you kind of answered my question, but then I want to ask you about the kitchen drum. So there's a song that I listen to all the time, and I like it, and it's definitely, but it makes me laugh. So can my brain say, well, that's ridiculous? Can I
Good
program my
question,
brain to do
because
that?
let me answer that with two answers. Number one, nah, it's not good.
Okay.
Number two, sarcastic teasing. That's what it led me into my thought process. Sarcastic teasing is the worst thing in the world. You know, I only said it because it's funny. There was a show that was on years ago, King of Queens or something, where the UPS man comes home and they're both overweight and they make fun of each other and they tease. I come home from work and I laugh and I laugh. And about, I don't know, 3 weeks of watching it, we're in the kitchen and I sarcastically said something to my husband. I went, oh, where did that come from? I don't talk like that. He looked at me, well, we watch a TV show, they do that all the time. I go, well, we're not watching it again. We haven't watched it since. Because it was hypnotizing me, bypassing my critical factor, putting material in that it's not my personality, and it was coming out without thought. It was routine mindset. So if you be aware of that, that's like the ruminating of a song. The eye-opener for me. I mentioned my husband likes to listen to oldies and goldies. When I started this practice 21 years ago, he loved to listen to oldie goldies when we get ready in the morning. We had kind of separate bathrooms and I'd go in and out. And all of a sudden the song comes on and I started getting depressed. Well, the song was Your Best Friend by whatever. And it's one of the times I tried to commit suicide. So my brain went down the gutter. He's in there singing and dancing. I'm like, wow, we're different people. Our brain has different programs. So I opened the door. I said, how were your teenage years, Ed? He says, oh my God, they were so good. I go, well, mine sucked. So this is really harming me. So we made an agreement. When we're together in those personal mindset times when your brain is totally open, getting ready, you're ruminating on what you're doing for the day, I said, we've got to be positive. So, or nothing. Music with no words. When I leave, you can play whatever you want. We made that agreement 20 years ago. We still stick to it till yesterday morning. I got GTO on my mind. So that's important. Thank you for the question, Johnny. Anybody else have a question? Yes.
What do you do if you do hear positive things, but that's not what you remember?
Our brain, good question. She asked, what do we do when we hear positive things and we don't remember the positive things, we remember the negative things? I'm going to rewind for a minute and refresh your memory. It's because we're all in the judgment mode. Our brains, if we're used to judging and we're used to ruminating on the negative, that negative feeds that gremlin and he gets healthier and healthier and healthier. So it's not just about being positive. It's about neutralizing the junk and finding a way to be neutral with negativity and finding a way to be in another zone of peace, balance. You know, I don't walk around giggling and happy all the time, but I'm happy. I compliment it. You know, I have a good day. You can shift that. The reason we hear the negative, because the brain's job is to solve it. So if something's wrong, the brain's job is to fear, flight, fright, freeze mechanism, to self-preservate, to find out what to do. And if the brain already has a load of negativity, it's feeding it. Like if someone came up to me and said, Laura, you have big feet, I'd go, okay, really? I would not go ruminate, do I have big feet? And I thought that was a really good one to use with a client one time. I was trying to give a metaphor of thought. And I said, well, you know, that's one thing that would not be this person because she had small feet. Boy, did I make a mistake. She started bawling that she hated her little feet her whole life. You never know. You never know. So it's that mindset of knowing what your programming is. I didn't think about my aunts, you know, and what my programming is, but now I know, and it's going to be gone soon because it's not working for me. So I think that's just finding that mental mindset of what is working for you, what's not working for you, and how to reprogram it. That makes sense? And remember something, it's not about just being positive. It's about figuring it out for your personal best and neutralizing the negative and creating that roadmap. Let's say for dressage to do every movement correctly, for jumping to jump every fence clear, whatever it is. Whatever it is. That's what you're doing, and that's what I want you to ruminate over. I do, and I am. Very, very important. Because everyone in this room are very special people. Every one of y'all. You got that. This is life. We get to live it. We get to enjoy it. We get to be who we want to be and excel where we want to excel. That's important. And having that gratitude. In the lectures this weekend, somebody raised their hand and asked my teacher this weekend, what would you suggest for people with sports? She says, well, you can't be in the suffering lane and be a good athlete. I went, wow, that's a profound statement. Can I steal it? You know? But think about that for a minute. You can't be in a suffering lane of life and be successful in a sport. The more you go into the gratitude attitude of the mindset, you're going to attract that. And that's going to be in your ability, skill, and talent. You still have to do the due diligence. I mean, I can't listen to a CD and never hold a gun and go shoot 100 out of 100, but I can hypnotize myself for detail, for focus, for comfort. You know, I can do all that, and I shoot better and better. My girlfriend, we shot a little thing the other weekend. It was a fundraiser for hospice, and the scores came out. I think I had an 84. My girlfriend looks across the table at me. She says, Laura, I got a 79. Isn't that great? And I go, that's wonderful. She says, we should get the best, most improved over this year. And I go, okay, why? She says, last year, you shot a 20 and I shot a 10. I went, really? You know what? We are. That's, you know, I hadn't kept track of that. I go to shoot for fun. I'm just having a blast. So it's finding that mindset. I'm going to use that as an example. I'm having a blast and look at how I'm improved. I have zero stress, worry, or performance anxiety. I don't care who's watching me. I'm there just to shoot that little orange thing that's flying in the sky. It's fun. No? And if you focus on something, you can achieve it. So I have focused on it. But I only get to go 1 or 2 days a week because I still work full time because I want to. That's not a complaint. That's a pure. People go, I have an assistant where I live now, and I came out and said, well, I'm working to 8 tonight. She said, oh my God, you're going to be so tired. And I went, did you just say that? You're fired. She said, well, I didn't mean to. I go, I'll forgive you this time. No. Under this roof, you don't tell me I'm tired, because when I'm done at 8, I'm meeting my husband for dinner and having a really good time because I want some oysters tonight. You know, I'm going to leave here and drive back to Port St. Lucie. I said, Ed, you have to meet me at Kenny G's. He says, okay. That makes me happy. So keep in mind, and I gave you that metaphor, the carrot out in front of you. What's your carrot? What's your carrot? What are you doing it for? So I came to speak tonight for my oysters tonight. Any other questions? Yes?
So if you're dealing with something, like you said, depression, Do you chip away at the little things, the little negative things, or do you have to go to the crux of the matter and start there and work out?
Good question. You're dealing with depression. Do you have to go through everything? Get the process out and go to everything that's happened. The answer to your question, it depends on what the problem is. I was molested as a child, so when Dorothy worked with me, I had to go and do some regression to cause, which is, it's a simple process. It's nothing that you've got to go and go through a whole emotional thing. It's going to the subconscious mind, doing forgiveness, not condoning, and letting go. And then the brain does it. Same thing for grieving. I worked at Sari Asher Center for the Cancer Institute for 10 years, and when I first started, the therapist across the hall had been sending me clients for a while. And so one day I opened the door, and she's like listening outside the door, and I go, I think this is a little unethical, honey. But, and she said, well, I don't get it. I've been here for all these years, and I've been working with all this grieving. They see you 3 times, and they're moving on with their life. And I'm like, well, you sent them to me. She says, well, what do? I let it go. Because the brain, 88% of the brain has zero analytical rational reasoning ability. It doesn't know how to let it go. That's why we all have problems. So the shorter answer to your question is that with depression, PTSD, a lot of the psychological issues, 90% of the people that come to me have worked on it, so they know what they need to work on, they know, and I can help take it and release it and clear it. And it works. It works. It's a process. It's a modality, it's a process, and the process just means your brain is able to let it go. It hangs on to it because nobody ever went in there and told it to let it go. Your computers, if it has a virus, it crashes. But you can hire somebody to go in and remove the virus. Same thing. So yes, I do feel like a computer programmer most days. I really do. But I have the tools and the material to walk you through that. I'm not here to sell me. I'm here to teach you something that can help you here with this, because everybody deserves to learn. What you know is what you know, and what you don't know is what you don't know. One more metaphor, then I think we're going to give some giveaways. I'm in line with a friend of mine. Her phone broke. And this was kind of still in the middle of COVID a little bit, so everybody's 6 feet away, and you're sitting there, and I'm sitting there just watching my friend in line, and the guy's helping one person. Up comes God, I can't believe I was going to say that, an older gentleman. I think he might have been younger than me, but anyway, he sat down behind me, and I'm sitting there, and this other lady comes in. I said, well, he's ahead of you. He just needs to sit down, because he came in his walker. She's okay. She's standing there. And he was saying, all I need to know is how to get my messages. And the lady looks over me, I can't believe he has a phone. He knows how to get his messages. And I looked at her and said, I guess what you know is what you know, and what you don't know is what you don't know. Dead silence. She's standing there. She says, wow, I never thought about it that way. The poor man got this iPhone, and he didn't know how to hit the button or how to get into it. And I wasn't going to teach him because of COVID. I just, whatever. And I was having so much fun with the dynamics of everybody coming, and there was people watching a little bit. And so she stood there, and all of a sudden she goes, wow, what do you do? I go, you don't want to know. I just stopped it because I was fine sitting there. So, use your mindset to decide what is right in your life. What do you know and what don't you know? I always say, teach me. If I don't know something, teach me. Teach me, educate me. I want to learn more. So be open to that. Are we ready for giveaways? I think we have some drawings. I know I have a bunch.
Sorry.